I'm Mark Sponsler from StormSurf.com, and here's the surf forecast for the Hawaiian Islands for the week starting Tuesday, May 3rd. Brought to you by your surf authority, expert advice, and friendly staff, Hawaiian South Shore. Needless to say, there's significant swell hitting both the north and south shores of the Hawaiian Islands as we speak. Let's go look into what generated these swells. First off, Thursday, North Pacific. Gale pushed off the Kuril Islands, generating 35 to 40 knot winds, aimed pretty well off to the east. That faded, followed by a much stronger system, generating 50 to 55 knot winds, pushing over the dateline. Hawaii is right down here, and then pushing into the Gulf of Alaska and out of the swell window. And since then, really nothing of interest has happened. Let's take a look at the effect of those winds on the ocean surface. The first gale generated a small area of 26-foot seas right here off the Kuril Islands. Hawaii is down here. Swell is propagating. Actually, it is hitting the Hawaiian Islands as we speak. That system faded, and a second system developed off the Kuril Islands with 39-foot seas pushing off to the east as well. That swell is in the water, bound to hit the Hawaiian Islands tomorrow about in the morning. Pure swell on Wednesday, forecast at 4.5 feet at 15 seconds. That's maybe 7-foot Hawaiian. We'll say 12 to 13-foot faces at best spots on the North Shore. Then fading on Thursday from 3.3 feet at 13 seconds. So, maybe about in the 8 to 9-foot range. And then on Friday, down to 2.1 at 11 to 12 seconds. That's maybe head high, something like that. So a nice run of swell, late season swell, for the North Shore. But then the South Shore, even more interesting things are happening. A strong gale developed off of New Zealand, southeast of New Zealand, on Monday evening last week, a week ago, and then built Tuesday morning with a good fetch of 55-knot south winds aimed directly at the Hawaiian Islands. That would be up here just off the image. And then started pushing off to the east, followed by yet a secondary gale, generating a tiny area of 50-knot winds. That too aimed well off to the northeast, and then that system, as we got into last weekend, faded, pushed out of the Hawaiian swell window. Decent seas were generated, first in the 32-foot range, and swell from that portion of the fetch is what's hitting Hawaii now. A stronger fetch developed from the 55-knot winds, producing 39-foot seas aimed north, and the early arrivers of that part of the swell are hitting the Hawaiian Islands right now as we speak. That would be on Tuesday afternoon, with yet a third system developing right behind, generating about 33-foot seas, and that aimed well off to the north as well. Now, it's real interesting about swell arrivals, swell models, all that sort of thing, because what's actually happening in Hawaii right now is just blowing away everything that was initially forecast. I mean, seas were forecast in the, 4 feet at 18-second range, which would be good for, 7 foot, something like that, 8-foot faces. But what's actually hitting the buoy is 6.3 feet at 18 seconds, which is about equivalent to 11 to 12-foot faces, and that can be verified at top spots as we speak. Now tomorrow, the swell continues and down a little bit. Pure swell in about the 4.5-foot range at 16 seconds, with surfing about the 2 to 3 foot overhead range. But then on Thursday, the swell is supposed to bounce back up again. Pure swell 3.9 at 17 seconds, with faces in the 2 to maybe 4 foot overhead range, so another good pulse of swell. Then starting to fade on Friday at 3.5 feet at 15 seconds, so maybe about 2 feet overhead. And then Saturday, finally simmering down at 3.1 feet at 14 seconds, or about, we'll say, head high to maybe a foot overhead. So a good long run of swell from the south is to continue. And the north as well, looking pretty good, but maybe not quite as spicy as the south. Looking forward for the northern hemisphere, we're just running the wave model out here. Significant wave heights, Hawaii's here. There's a little gale that's forecast pretty weak right in this area on maybe over the weekend. 18-foot seas or something like that aimed at the Hawaiian Islands. Maybe some swell in on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, but not really a whole lot size-wise. The northern hemisphere looks like it's certainly wrapping up for the season. And then looking down south after this run of southern hemiswell, things kind of back off for a bit with nothing really of particular interest forecast until maybe Saturday in the deep South Pacific, 27-foot seas, something like that. I mean, that's good for some background swell, but nothing even remotely comparing to what's happening right now. But then as we get into Tuesday of next week, another gale forecast. I mean, we're reaching out almost 180 hours here, which is pushing it for the models, but seas in about the 38-foot range, then possibly another system trying to sneak under New Zealand beyond that. So probably make the most of what you can get right now. And then looking long term, we're in this persistent La Nina pattern. Just today, the models gave us a little bit of hope. This is sea surface temperature anomaly forecast in the Nino 3.4 region. That's the official El Nino monitoring region. Temperatures had been scheduled to fall as deep as 1.5 degrees below normal, which is pretty deep in La Nina territory, and that in mid-May or so. All of a sudden today, kind of bounced back down to only 1.1 degrees below normal and quickly rebounding almost into the neutral range, not quite. Weak La Nina through the fall, and then hopefully by January we're out of La Nina, but by then the die is cast for the winter. So quickly wrapping it up, North Shore, biggest part of the swell, forecast in tomorrow, decent size, and then down south, another pulse of swell for Thursday, but solid swell the whole way into the early part of the weekend. The biggest part of the swell, though, is hitting right now. Go get surf while you can, but if it's over your ability, maybe it's best to just watch from the shore until things settle down a little bit. All right, thanks for watching, and do your shopping at Hawaiian South Shore. Thank you.